afternoon, sir. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number.
Pete E. Messiah, DOC number 108541.
Right, and let me see, you got some folks there with you. Gary Messiah and Somalia. What's her last name?
Swing.
Swing, okay. And also joining us by Zoom, we have Keisha Stanwood and Joseph Landing. First, I'll read some identifying information into the record, ask you to confirm it. Then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Marabelli. The case has been signed to him as the lead on the interview. And then once the interview is concluded, we'll hear from those who will be speaking, and you'll be allowed to make a statement at the end. So, Mr. Messiah, you're here this afternoon seeking the commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in Orleans Parish. Initially, December 1984, you received the death penalty for a first-degree murder conviction. And then in March 1998, you were resentenced to a life. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Would you answer Mr. Marabelli's question?
Good afternoon, Mr. Messiah. How are you? My name is Tony Marabello, and I've got some questions for you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, nice to meet you.
How old are you, Mr. Messiah?
64.
You've been in prison for 40 years, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you were 24 when this happened?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk a little bit about Mr. Keith Messiah at 24 years old. Tell me what was going on in your life at 24 years old. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, at the age of 24, I was ignorant. I didn't listen to no one. I was bullheaded. Right? I thought I chose to do the thing that I wanted to do. I didn't have no consideration for no one else but myself.
Yeah, well, let me ask you a couple of questions about back then. Were you working?
No, sir.
Had you ever had a job back then?
Yes, I've had several jobs off and on.
What kind of jobs did you have?
I worked for the hospital and the janitorial service. I worked for sewage and water board in the paving department. I worked for LSU.
Okay. Do you have any children?
Yes,
How many children do you have?
at that time, 3.
And how old were your children?
Well, the oldest one right now is,
No, back then.
oh, back then they were young. The youngest one was 5. The oldest one was 6 going on 7. And my youngest son, he wasn't born at the time. He was born 4 months after I come to prison.
And where did those children live? Did they live with you?
No, they stayed with their mothers.
Looking at your history, I'm not going to belabor the issue, but you've got a ton of arrests. Started out at 18. You had a burglary. You've had illegal carrying of weapons. You've had a number of arrests, 3 convictions, many of them involving guns, many of them involving burglaries and thefts. Then you've got the first-degree murder charge here. Were drugs or alcohol involved in any of these offenses?
In the one that I'm on now, I was intoxicated
Okay, intoxicated how?
for the pills and marijuana and alcohol.
All right, well, let's talk about the pills and the marijuana first. When did you start using marijuana?
Oh, at the age of 13.
And how often were you using marijuana at age 13?
We would smoke it every day.
And you did that until you got in prison on this murder charge?
Yes,
So all of these other offenses also were influenced by drugs.
excuse me.
All of your other offenses, you started out at 18 committing
Yes.
crime. That's the adult record. And
Okay.
you were using marijuana every day throughout this entire time, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
When did you start using pills?
The pills I was taking would be Valiums.
When did you start?
I started taking Valiums around 78.
So you'd have been about 20, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I took them to about that. to about 20 years old. I didn't take
You took-
20, I didn't take 20 pills, no.
No. All right. You said you started about 78.
Yeah, taking the pills, yes.
And when were you born?
I was born in 1958.
Okay. So how old were you when you started taking the pills?
About 20, about
All
that.
right. And what about cocaine? You ever use cocaine, heroin, any other drugs like that?
No, sir.
How often were you taking the pills as well as the marijuana?
I would take the pills basically every 2 weeks. I smoked the marijuana every day.
How about alcohol? How much were you drinking then?
I wasn't a real heavy drinker. I liked to drinking beer.
Now, had you ever had any drug treatment on the outside?
No, sir.
Can you and I both agree that you're a drug addict?
Yes, I can. I am.
Tell me a little bit about what you've done in terms of drug substance abuse. What have you taken while you've been in prison for substance abuse?
I've taken Living in Balance 1 and 2. The first substance abuse class I took, it was under Miss Valerie Oliver, and they say it wasn't good. So I got back into the substance abuse class to take Living in Balance 1 and 2.
Now, let's go back to 1983, February 15th of 1983, which was Mardi Gras Day.
Yes.
Okay. What were you doing that day? I know
I
you committed this robbery, but what were you doing that day? You had a 357 Magnum on you. What were you doing with that gun? And what were your intentions?
Well, I was standing in the courtway with a couple of guys, and I told them I was going to take a walk. I didn't tell them where I was going, but I told them where I was going to take a walk. And I walked towards the Popeyes.
Let me stop you. Number one, why did you have a gun?
Just to be carrying it.
How long had you been carrying that 357 Magnum?
I had it all day.
When did you get it? First day you got it? You just got it?
I had got it from a friend of mine about 2 days before that.
Why did you get that gun?
Well, I got it to go rob.
You got that gun specifically to go rob somebody.
Yes, sir.
And you were doing drugs the day you committed this robbery?
Yes.
Tell me what and why you committed this robbery and why you shot that lady.
Well, I went towards the Popeyes to rob, and my intention was to rob the Popeyes, but I seen that they had a security guard, so I didn't go in. I seen the 5 people standing outside the car eating, and I approached them, and I drew the gun and demanded their money, and they put the money on the hood of the car. And this one lady got out of the car and demanded that she didn't have any money, and I shot her.
Why did you shoot her?
I wasn't thinking. It was
What do you mean you
act.
weren't thinking? You had a gun? You
Yes.
intended to rob someone 2 days
Yes.
before. Money was put on the car.
Yes.
This lady got out, said she didn't have any money, and you shot her and killed her. Why?
Yes.
What do you weren't thinking?
No, I was not. It was a foolish act, a selfish act. I accept responsibility for my actions. I make no excuses.
Well, that phrase is something I'm sure y'all are taught when you come before the parole board. Accept responsibility. I'm sorry. All of those things. What do you think that family of that lady has gone through as a result of you shooting her in the face and killing her with that big old gun?
The family and her friends are they're distraught, they're tore up, and so am I. I felt of nothing for 40 years but the hurt and the pain I've caused them, and the pain here I've caused my family and my children. I know it isn't right and it wasn't right.
How long and what time did this occur? What time of day was this?
I'm not sure. It had to be between 12 and possibly 1 o'clock in the evening.
All right. So had you been drinking that day?
Yes,
What were you drinking?
I was drinking I think it was alcohol, I think wine.
A minute ago, you said you only drank beer.
Yeah, I
You
drink
drank
beer, but
wine that day too?
it was a Mardi Gras, yes,
Okay. So you were drinking a good bit, smoking your marijuana every day like you normally did?
yes.
So what are you gonna do if you get out? How are you gonna stay sober?
Well,
Get out, how are you gonna stay sober?
I plan on, if I do get out, I don't have a problem going to, taking substance abuse. I don't have a problem taking any drug classes or going to AA meetings,
Now, let me slow it down. I want you to choose your words carefully,
right?
okay? I want you to hear what you're saying. You don't have a problem with that.
Right? I
That means, that suggests if somebody says you gotta go do it, you'll do it. My question to you, without anybody making you do anything, what is it that you believe you have to do every day to stay sober?
have to take classes. I have to go to AA. I have to stay away from the drugs and the alcohol and not associate myself with anyone in that capacity.
Do you do AA now?
No, I haven't taken AA. All I've done was the Living in Balance 1 and 2, the substance abuse classes.
So what do you know about AA?
From talking to some of the guys around here, it's a meeting
Have-
that,
Been to an AA meeting?
have I been to one? No, sir.
Do you know anything about the 12 steps?
Of recovery,
Yeah.
yes. I
What do
haven't
you
been
know
to
about?
AA though,
I'm sorry.
I haven't been to AA. I took
I
imbalance 1 and
understand
2.
that, but you're asking me to vote that the governor will commute you so you ultimately can get out. And my question to you is, how are you going to stay sober? And you say, oh, well, if required, or I'm willing to go do this and go do that. You're not familiar with the 12 steps? You haven't gone to AA meetings?
I haven't.
Do you know what your triggers are? Do you have any tools to stay sober?
Yes, I stay focused and, seek the help that I need to stay sober.
And what would that help be? What does that help look like?
It would come in the form of counseling and right, seeking the help from AA group.
Have you ever been into any long-term treatment for drugs and
No,
alcohol?
sir. No, sir.
Now, you've taken Living in Balance. What other programs have you taken for substance abuse besides Living in Balance?
Well, that's the only one I've taken.
Now, you've taken anger management, you've taken Thinking for a Change, you've taken victim awareness. You have a lot of certificates in faith-based programs. You've taken 100 hours pre-release, Malachi Dads. Tell me what your plan would be, your transition plan. Where would you live if you were to get out?
With my wife, Mrs. Mary Messiah in Homer,
How long have you been married to this Messiah?
for 23 years.
And you've indicated in your application that you currently give back by speaking engagements to churches, schools, and community centers, encouraging youth. Tell me about that. What is that?
I was a part of the DARE program at the Orleans Parish Prison, and we would speak to the underprivileged youths about staying in school, getting their education. And I was transferred back up here, so I couldn't no longer take and participate in the DARE program, right? But I've spoken to kids through the visiting shed where I used to work and run the club.
And what do you tell them basically? I mean, what do you tell them about staying off the drugs? What do you recommend to them that they do to stay off drugs?
I encourage them that drugs is not the way to go, that it's a downfall, that their education right? It's the key to their success. Drugs is not going to take and help you or get you to where you want to be. It's going to help you to end up in prison, where you will make some of the same terrible mistakes or choices that I've made.
Those are wonderful principles, and those are the kinds of things that you learn in books. Let me ask you this. What are your triggers? What triggered you to use drugs since you were 13 years old?
Being a follower, trying to fit in with the guys in the neighborhood.
Okay. What else? Stress, problems in life? How are you going to deal with those things?
Well, my faith in God has helped me with my problems, and right, I've stayed focused and surround myself around a lot of positive people, right? And that's why I chose to take the classes in this self-help program that I've taken, to better myself and rehabilitate myself.
How long have you been sober?
Since I've been here for 40 years.
Are there any AA meetings where you are now?
I'm not quite sure. I feel that they got AA, yes. They don't have, they got AA meetings, yes. They got AA. They got guys that go to it.
Why go to those meetings?
I haven't looked into it, right? It's done on the weekends, right? But they do have it.
Well, my question to you is, why haven't you taken those AA meetings to make sure you get out, you'll know how to stay sober?
Yes, well, I thought I had, once I'd taken substance abuse and living in balance 1 and 2, that was the end of it, right? But I see there is not.
Well, let me ask you a question. I asked you early on, can we both agree that you're a drug addict? You said yes.
Yes.
So you think it's over? You're not a drug addict anymore?
No, it's not over. It's not over. I mean,
Well, why would you think taking living in balance is the end? The end of what?
well, since I've been incarcerated, I think it would be the end of drug use, because I haven't been using and I'm not around it. I don't indulge in it. No.
Well, look, I'm not naive enough to know that there aren't drugs in prison, but you're in prison.
Yes.
It's pretty easy to be disciplined and not use drugs while you're in prison. It's
Right.
easier there than it is on the outside. But you couldn't do that since 10 years old.
You're
so
correct.
My question is, I'm concerned about your staying sober when you get out, because you say, no, well, I took living in balance and I figured that was the end. The end of what?
Getting high. It's the end of, my health is not going to allow me to do any of that either.
Gordon, what can you tell us about Mr. Messiah?
I can tell you that he's a Class A, minimum A trustee here. He works at the CDC warehouse for prison enterprise. He was once awarded the Employee of the Month award there for his outstanding work. Other than that, everything that you have touched bases on is all that I have. And we do have a.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other questions, so we'll hear from those who want to speak on your behalf. We'd like first to hear from your daughter, Ms. Keisha Stanley.
Good afternoon. I am Keisha Stanwood. I just want to say thank you guys for the opportunity and letting him be eligible to apply, because he applied, I think it was in 2016, and he was denied. So thank you guys for that. Based off of what I'm getting a little emotional right now, so excuse me and I apologize. Based off of what he and my dad was just speaking on, as I grew up without my father and I found out that he committed this crime, I was angry with him, okay? I didn't want to deal with him. I didn't want to go and visit him when I saw the things on the news. It was embarrassing, but all of that to say off of the things that I've heard my family and other people that know my dad, it was good things. He had his downfalls. One thing I can say about drugs, he always told me like the different drugs, the different effects that it does. So don't do those things. So everything that he said up here and said, it is really truthful and it's honest and it's from his heart. I have learned to grow know my dad as adult that I am now. If he was to get free, it would be a blessing to me and my siblings, his wife, his grandkids, for him to be reunited with us again. I do feel and believe strongly that he's not the person that he was when he was 24 years old. Far as the victim, I don't know what to say, because if it was me, I don't know if I can forgive that person that took away someone that murdered my family. But again, I do believe in giving a person a second chance. I do feel that he know what he did, he accept what he did, and he's just not the same person. So everything my dad just said about himself and what he would do is real facts, and it's coming from the heart, God, honest truth. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Right, ma'am. Mr. Landick?
Good evening. My name is Joseph Landix. I am personally connected to Mr. Keith Messiah. As a formerly incarcerated person, like so many other people in that prison, Mr. Messiah contributed to the man I have became. I met Mr. Messiah over 20 years ago when he was the vice president of the social club in Camp D. I worked under Mr. Messiah in the club. I watched his charitable efforts, and I watched the rehabilitation that he had contributed to people like myself and many other men. Mr. Messiah may not appear to be the most eloquent speaker. However, his heart is genuine. Mr. Messiah is the reason why I became a Class A trustee. He put his word on the line for me, and former Assistant Warden Troy Poray invested in me. As a result, I maintained that Class A trustee status for 16 and a half years before I was granted parole on 2020, December 10th. Mr. Messiah is a good person. Yes, Mr. Messiah has had many bumps in his head with the judicial system. However, I don't like using the phrase second chances. I believe in the phrase another opportunity. Some people don't get it right the first and second time, like children. However, the key is getting it right. If you look at Mr. Messiah's collective embodiment of rehabilitative efforts and charitable work, Mr. Messiah got it right. 6 rule infractions in 40 years. There's not that many people in that place that has a disciplinary record as stellar as Mr. Keith Messiah. I attend Celebration Church in St. Bernard Parish. Every Friday from 7 to 10 p.m., we offer Celebrate Recovery. This program addresses the hurts, hang-up, and habits for individuals suffering from substance abuse. I would help facilitate Mr. Messiah's transition and would personally escort him every Friday to my church to attend. He would have AA, Mr. Marabella. In closing, I attend college, Nunez Community College. This has been a wonderful experience. However, it's been overwhelming. There's many times I had to reach out to Mr. Keith Messiah for help because I felt I didn't belong. I felt I wasn't qualified. Mr. Messiah, as he did in the prison, encouraged me. As a result, I graduated in less than a year with my technical degree. I'm on pace to graduate with an associate's degree averaging a 4.0 GPA. Mr. Messiah has contributed to this. If not for Mr. Messiah and many others, the man who this honorable board agreed to give another opportunity to, I would not be that person. Thank you.
All right, and thank you. All right, have there with Mr. Messiah, we have Ms. Mary who would like to speak. Mary?
You can speak, you can stay right there and speak.
Okay. My husband is sorry for what he did over the years and stuff, but when I met him in 2000, and a few years later, we got married and stuff. But he's a strong person, yes, he is, and I am too, but I think he done changed a lot from what he used to be and stuff, and I met him, he done changed a lot, he done come a long way. So I wish I have mercy on him, and that's it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Messiah, what would you like to say to us before we vote?
I would like to thank each and every one of you for giving me this chance and this opportunity, right? And I would ask that this board, right, have mercy upon me and feel that I deserve a second chance through God's grace and mercy. And I know y'all job isn't easy, but I thank you and appreciate you.
All right, sir, thank you. I think we're prepared to vote. Mr. Marabella?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Messiah, I want to say I appreciate your honesty. You've been very honest, I believe, with me. It was a good interview. You've got excellent support, and you've accomplished a lot of things while you've been in prison for the last 4 years. I agree that you are a changed person. I do have some concerns about your sobriety. Think that you're on the right track, but living in balance while a good program isn't the end all. You really do need to get into AA. You really do need to understand what your triggers are more specifically, and what the tools are for you to be able to maintain your sobriety. AA is critical. 12 steps are critical. Based upon my interview with you, based upon your record, based upon your honesty, I mean, you told, you didn't pull any punches about what you did. You got that gun to go rob someone. You did it, and you shot this lady and you killed her. I do believe that you're significantly remorseful for it. My vote today would be to recommend to the governor that he commute your sentence to 99 years with immediate parole eligibility. But that isn't the end. You're not getting out, even if everybody else agrees with you. There's going to be a period you've got to apply for parole. Between now and that time you come before a parole board, get some AA behind you, get some substance abuse education behind you so you'll have a good plan to maintain your sobriety. I'm just one of 4 votes, but that's my votes. Good luck.
Thank you.
I concur with Mr. Marabella, and I also vote to commute your sentence to 99 years with immediate parole eligibility.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Roche?
Madam Chairman, my vote is the same.
All right, to Messiah, I do agree. You have an outstanding prison record. I mean, it's remarkable that you only have, I think it was 4 write-ups. The institution refers to you as a model inmate, so my vote is the same. So you proceed to vote, and we'll make that recommendation on your behalf to the governor that your sentence be commuted to 99 years and that you be immediately paroled. Good luck.
Thank you, each and every one of you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
For Nambo, that concludes our business at penitentiary. We're going to adjourn. It's 2:41. Thanks for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank y'all.